Okay, so I don't have many academic things to say since I'm a journalist, so I do things more than think about them. But there are 5 keywords to which I relate to the idea of change through our coverage and what's happening in Egypt these days, particularly since 25 Jan 2011. The first is the personal, and I think the personal is an important key to understanding horizontalism in organization, which is something that has made a lot of people think. How is it not top-down, and how did people manage to just do it in such a horizontal matter? And the personal is an important aspect into what made people take to the street. The broken glasses relates to my very personal experience of being attacked on the first day of the revolution, which basically, in a way, in a very interpersonal way, prompted other people, especially men friends of mine who would never take to demonstrations, to actually feel that, you know, it's less, there's a question of virility here if they don't take to the street and, you know, female friends of theirs happen to go there and be beaten up, so they ended up being on the street the following day. So it's an important aspect. But in opposition to personal, there is the viral. So certain pictures act as iconography and basically make it like an internet virus throughout all social media and so on. And this also part of the horizontalism. This is part of what made a lot more people take to the street throughout the last 2 years. But also the interesting thing about the viral in those pictures is that they were decoded against so many other constructs across society. So this is a picture of a woman who was beaten and stripped by the military, and it prompted people to protest against the military forces in Egypt, but also through it going viral, it prompted people to think about gender issues. So there was the question of what made her go to the street in the first place, and there were a lot of fighting about women's rights to share this protest movement and to be an integral part of it as much as men are. So there were many aspects of the viral, of consuming the image the moment it went viral, and it infected a lot of thoughts. The other 2 constructs is the reel. So this is an image of the last wave of violence that I was covering with my photojournalist. And the idea of the reel is that it happens on the ground on a day-to-day basis, even if the images are less comprehensible and less gentrified and less understandable for the naked eye and for the mainstream media, but it's still happening and it's real and it's there, and it's even like a video game the moment you look at it from its incomprehensibility, but it's still real. And then if we move to the next slide, it's also virtual at the same time. Some of you are aware of this work by, I think his name was Convas Buguta or something, and he was basically mapping the sphere of influence in the Egyptian Twitter sphere. And you know, me and my friends are somewhere in the blue bubbles up there. And what happens is that this signifies our presence online, but also it signifies our connections in the offline world. So, and the idea behind this, or the way I read it, I don't know if the researcher had this in mind, but the idea or the way I read it is that what happens online is highly connected to what's happening to the offline, that we don't even need to think about this binary in a sense. It is real and virtual at the same time. They are one and the same. And finally, it's postmodern in the Oliver sense, which we were just describing now, in the sense that it's cynical and critical to the established construct. It's also in the sense of claiming a moment and a space that is not there, that is not primarily yours. And this is an image from, again, the last wave of violence in Cairo that we were covering. This is the aftermath when the police retreated, most of the protesters retreated, and some protesters lingered around and started, you know, climbing on the existing monuments around the square and sort of appropriating the space and the moment in a meaningless kind of way, in a nihilist kind of way. And I think this is an important moment in understanding the mobilization also and its evolution in Egypt nowadays. I'm sorry again for the lack of eloquence, but this is what I have to say.